Hello and welcome to the Next Gen product update for November 2024. My name is Søren, as many of you know, and I'm super excited to show you all the new stuff that we have built for you over the past couple of releases of Next Gen. Before we get started, let me just get everything in order. There we go, and we'll take a look at the agenda. So we're going to start, as we always do, with Ucommerce's place in the composable world. I'll keep it short this time because I've done it a couple of times before. If you want to see the full story, please refer back to the last product update. But we will spend a little time setting the stage. Then we'll get into the product update, where we'll look at all the new stuff we've done with the PIM, with the OMS, with a all new functional area of Ucommerce. There's lots of good stuff in store for you, so I'm really looking forward to showing you that. We'll talk a little bit about migrations, and by the end, a cliffhanger, an offer you can't refuse. So I look forward to revealing that to all of you in a moment. Good, so let's get started. So Ucommerce in the composable world. So a couple of years ago, we started planning out Ucommerce Next Gen. So we needed to rebuild the entire platform to make sure that it fits within a modern architecture. And in our world, composable is the way to go. What it does is essentially splits up all the responsibilities of your solution into component pieces that have a very clearly defined responsibility. So rather than having everything tucked inside of one platform, rather you start to use many platforms together in a composable fashion to create the entire solution. So that's what I'm showing here, that your solution will be built from many different building blocks: a CMS, a commerce platform, email marketing, OMS, inventory, all that stuff that's required to build an advanced e-commerce solution these days. On top of that, the API is customer specific. These are the building blocks that drive everything in your solution. So these are built specifically for your customer, you as a customer, and they remain stable over a long time and service all the channels that you have: apps, websites, chatbots, all that good stuff. Why do it? Well, the idea is to get away from one box that you have to sort of live with for a number of years until you sort of toss it out and build something new. Rather than doing that, when you split up in these component pieces, best of breed pieces, you have the option of not throwing everything out every 3 to 5 years, but actually continually evolving those key areas of your solution, which may be different from client to client, of course. So some have large investments in CMS and e-commerce, so most of the investment go there. Others in supply chain, others again in marketing automation. So best of breed really means different things for different companies, depending on your strategy and where you put the effort in your investment. Composable enable you to continually invest over time without losing traction, because when you replatform, what effectively happens is you stop, then you rebuild everything you had on a new platform, and then you get to start innovating. But of course, your competitors don't stand still while you're doing that. They continue to innovate, and those who've already adopted Composable will just, be miles ahead when you're ready again. So that's what I like about Composable, that it enables us to continue to move forward without, continually reinventing the wheel. You don't have to take my word for it. Gartner made a bit of research a couple of years ago, and they found that there is really some bang for the buck to go to here. So if you're not already on the Composable bandwagon, I would strongly suggest you get on it, because it will give you a competitive advantage in the long run. So Ucommerce in this world, what does that mean? Well, it means that we build Ucommerce from scratch to work within a composable setup where we do not assume that we can do everything. We work together with the systems you have in your landscape. We've done this for many years with the CMS. Now we've expanded that way of thinking into multiple other systems, so we can connect to everything you need. So search, content management system, as in the old days, identity providers, digital asset management, Ucommerce clicks in and becomes a seamless part of your composable architecture. One of the cool things about it is that Ucommerce is standalone as a result. So that means that you can actually get rid of us if you want to keep your CMS, or you can replace the CMS. We don't pretend to be relevant for all of your journey, but we do find ourselves relevant in a part of the journey, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Positioning wise, we've moved up the market a little bit, so it's upper mid-market and lower enterprise. So this is for the demanding merchant, not off the shelf, out of the box type solutions. We are typically the next step after that. So key benefits. We are designed to be the logical first step in your composable journey. So maybe you're on a monolith today that does CMS and e-commerce and all sorts of things. Ucommerce as the next logical step means that you get started on the composable journey where you can sort of start to branch out into multiple platforms. That's where we really see offering the most benefit when you're ready to move out of your monolith and get started on the composable journey. As always, Ucommerce is built for complex requirements. So really when you have B2B or D2C, or you have a business that doesn't quite fit the mold, or if you're ready to really make your e-commerce solution fully your own without compromise, that's where we kick in. We're composable with any tech stacks because that's kind of the idea in a composable world. And you can leverage our headless APIs for any type of front end. So you can build your chatbots, your websites, your apps on phones and things like that with no worry. And enterprise search, of course, big part of e-commerce for faceted navigation, full text search in your B2B scenarios. You may have hundreds of thousands of SKUs that your customers need to navigate to find the exact right one. And our search engine enables you to do that. I'll show you exactly how, and also some augmentations we've done to that a little later in the update here. Because we had a chance to basically reinvent Ucommerce for the composable world, we also had a chance to replace all of the core technologies that Ucommerce is made up of. So everything ground up is built with the latest Microsoft technologies. So brand new across the board. It means Ucommerce runs more efficiently in the cloud, thus lowering your hosting costs. It means that it's faster to build new things. It means our UIs are much faster than before. Basically, everything is shiny and fresh everywhere. And lastly, Ucommerce supports bring your own cloud. So what that means is we don't lock you into a particular cloud. You select the cloud that's relevant to you. We don't really care if it's from Google or Microsoft or Amazon or somebody else entirely. It just works. Everywhere where you can run a .NET application, Ucommerce will run and work with your system. Good. So with that out of the way, let's get into the product update. For each product update, we invest in key areas in e-commerce to make sure we have themes that support your business in the best way we can. And for this one, we have a few pretty cool ones, if I do say so myself. So the first one is composable workflows. I'll talk more about it in a moment, but we found that there are lots and lots of benefits to composable, but there are also some downsides, and we're addressing those today. We're going to talk about expanded PIM capabilities, so your ability to manage product information within Ucommerce PIM. We'll talk about new CRM capabilities that I'm really excited to show you, and we'll talk about some user experience enhancements that will really make your day. If you spend your entire workday within Ucommerce, you will be really happy with what we've done there. But without further ado, let's jump into composable workflows. So we'll circle back to a slide here where I said future is composable, and we strongly believe so. We've bet the farm on it, in fact. So what it means on the upside is that you get a chance to evolve your business continually without those starts and stops where your competitors may overtake you in innovation. That's great. But there is also a day-to-day that needs to work within this way of working. And what happens when your commerce platform is separate from your CMS, is separate from your DAM, is separate from your ERP, and so on and so forth? It can become tricky to do those workflows that require you to go to different platforms to do it. We're sort of aiming to deal with that today with a new technology we call app slices. The idea here is to bring native capabilities of Ucommerce to other platforms. So you can start to do your workflows within a single platform where it makes sense. And I have some examples of that. But before we get into that, let me just show you the challenge here. So within Ucommerce, we have a bunch of capabilities. I've highlighted here with a little UI doohickey, right? It does something useful within Ucommerce. It's a central workflow. That's great. You can get all your stuff done in an efficient manner within Ucommerce. All is great. Then a composable platform comes along, and now you need to do some of the same things in that composable platform. So in the past, you would spend a lot of time gluing these platforms together. In fact, our old business model was exactly that. With this approach here that we will talk about today, it's possible to expose an app slice of Ucommerce within any composable platform. So essentially, we take that super useful workflow within Ucommerce and make it available in another composable platform. So you don't have to build it yourself, and you can leverage those capabilities that we ship within any composable thing. CMSs, PIMs, WMSs, whatever. These capabilities are available right in there, so you can unify the workflows where it makes sense. So are there some workflows where it makes sense? I think there are many, but there's one in particular that's very near and dear to my heart, and indeed all of our hearts here at Ucommerce, because that's where we come from, and it's the content and commerce space. So this particular one is interesting because there is just one central workflow in here, which is super, super important that you do over and over again, and it's so important that it's seamless. It's the landing page, right? Specifically the product landing page. So a page like this naturally belongs within the CMS. You set up your page, your media and all that, do all your content, and it's great for search engine optimization and all that. Your customers get there, and of course, when they do, you want to introduce some products, as we have there on the right-hand side. But the products are locked away in another platform within Ucommerce, and so how do we bring them together? And that's what app slices aim to deal with. So here's the CMS piece, and obviously the e-commerce piece over here, and they need to come together. And that's exactly what we do with app slices. So with this version of Ucommerce, we're introducing an app slice we call the product picker. So within Ucommerce, you've always had the ability to navigate products, search for products, find what you're looking for, put them in categories and things like that. And that particular workflow is super useful, not just inside of Ucommerce, but outside of Ucommerce, specifically in a CMS like Umbraco, Sitecore, Sitefinity, or indeed any CMS. They do not have to be .NET based. It could be Contentful or whatever. So app slices essentially enable us to expose this functionality natively to the CMS or the composable platform, and you can work with it seamlessly alongside all the content capabilities. Let's take a look at what it looks like in practice, shall we? So I have here Ucommerce running, and I've set up a bunch of stores just, because I can, and we'll navigate to my B2C store here. So this is the one that I need products from. Within this store, I have some catalogs. You'll notice here I have a bunch, summer, winter catalog, and a bunch more, just to make sure I have a lot of stuff. So within the summer catalog, I have a shirts category, and I've set up a few shirts in advance, a black one and a white one, so it matches the slide. Yes, pricing and all that has all been set up inside of our PIM. That's great. The product is ready to be sold, and we now need to make it available on the page. But how, right? So to illustrate the point, what's interesting here is that we do have a workflow that's kind of what we need, right? If you squint a little and look at this, you need to select some products for the content page, and that's exactly what this workflow is all about. I navigate my catalog, my shirts, I find my products, I select them, and stick them on the content page, right? So it kind of looks like what we need. So let's take a look at what that could look like within another composable platform. I have sort of very randomly selected Umbraco. Well, not so randomly, but we have a long-standing working relationship with Umbraco, and of course, it just makes sense to show it. But I want to underline that it is not just an Umbraco thing. Any CMS will do. So let me show you here what we've done. So within Umbraco, we've set up a page. We just call it home to call it something, right? And on this page, oops, let me just sign in again. Here we go. On this page, we have content, right? So cotton shirt, we have discovery, the luxury, blah, blah, blah. I may or may not have had some help from ChatGPT to set this up. So we have some content, right? So let's take a look at what that looks like on the front end. So it's published, and this is what it looks like. So this is how far we can go with Umbraco itself. Great. So we're now ready to make this a converting landing page. And to do that, we need to stick some products on it. So I'll navigate back to Umbraco backend. And we have made an app slice available down here. So you can see here how we're talking to Ucommerce. We're looking in the default store that we were just working with in Ucommerce a moment ago, and you see the summer catalog and the winter catalog. You may wonder why you're not seeing the 100 other catalogs in there, but that's because when you're working with Ucommerce, you're working with an internal view of your data. So all the data that may or may not be ready for a sales situation. So these are only the published catalogs that we're working with here. So like an external and outside-in view. So we'll navigate to the summer catalog and we'll find the shirt category down here. And we have our two shirts, the white one and the black one. And I add those in. And this workflow is exactly the same as inside of Ucommerce. It's just made available via standard interface. Here we go. Document is saved and published. And we should be able to navigate to our landing page and see the products appear. So that's what an app slice can essentially do. It assists you on the back office to bring composable workflows together, to span across platforms, to enable scenarios like these that are super core. Because that is the downside of Composable, as we found it, that it does give you some pretty significant strategic advantages as a business. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of everyday work, it can be quite cumbersome to navigate multiple different platforms to get your work done as an e-com manager or an e-commerce user. We believe App Slices is a great way to solve this, so you can actually unify these workflows where it makes sense. And products are just so essential for many different workflows. You can imagine how a CRM might need it as well. And these App Slices can be made available, anywhere you choose to. Good. Of course, I just showed you an example of two composable platforms working together, but your real landscape will look more like this, that you have many composable platforms working together. And it's just important for me to highlight, it's not just a content and commerce thing. This is a native piece of Ucommerce that can be made available in whatever platform that makes sense. You make the decision. You just wrap it in the thing the host system needs, and we provide the entire user experience from there. So there are some pretty cool scenarios that you can unlock with this, and the product picker is just where we start. So that's App Slices. You can bring native capabilities to other composable platforms, create user experiences and back office experiences across composable platforms. You can set up beautiful product landing pages with the product picker app slice that we're shipping today. I'm really excited about this. I think we're breaking some real new ground here, and I think this will make a real difference in the day-to-day life of e-commerce managers. With that, let's move on to the PIM. So we've always had a PIM in Ucommerce, and we keep investing in it, making it more and more powerful. And today we're introducing derived definitions. The idea with derived definitions is to improve data quality by reducing duplication. So you don't have to repeat yourself so much. And while it's a simple feature, it does actually open up for some pretty advanced scenarios that we're going to take a look at today. The first one is one you're familiar with from the PIM world, specifications. So the idea here is that you have a bunch of data that sort of repeats itself down, and you need to attach that to a product. And I'll give you an example of what that could look like with a real customer. So we have a customer here that sells steel piping, essentially, right? And there are B2B, so they have these sort of like inside baseball dimensions like YD, YD2, GT, and so on and so forth. But take my word for it, they're specifications. And the way you model this is that you set up your product like this. So you have a pipe definition and a bunch of others, maybe depending on what other types of products you're selling. It has the SKU, sales units, things that pertain to the pipe itself. With derived definitions, you can add in additional stuff that's located on a separate definition like this. So they inherit, the product inherits traits from both of them instead of just one. And so in this case here, the specifications definition holds all the additional stuff, and it can be reused across other types of definitions as well if you want to. So it saves you from repeating yourself over and over again if these are specifications that are used again and again on other products. And what's cool about it is because it sort of fits within the PIM of Ucommerce, it's indexed to our search engine. And so these filters here are just sort of a native capabilities that you can opt into. You'll notice that not all of the specifications are set up as filters. These are selectable. It's an optional thing whether you want that to flow out, but you can still use them in a product listing like the one we're looking at here. So it's quite handy for scenarios like this. Another scenario is search engine optimization. So we all have to bow down to the almighty Google, of course. And so it means that we have to enrich our products with search engine optimized text, titles and things like that. It's not really part of the core product data, but it's still something that needs to live on the product to make sense, right? So we can use derived definitions to do that. And I took my shirt example from before. So it has a SKU, it has size, color, material. So things that pertain to the shirt, but not to Google. Well, it may, but that's up to you whether you want to use it for that. And using derived definitions, you can add in another, we can call it a specification, but another definition that holds all that metadata for the shirt. So SEO, title, and whatever else Google wants to enrich the thing. And of course, because it is multiple deviate, I don't know, you can use it many times. You can also use it for shoe definition and trousers and so on and so forth. So you don't have to repeat yourself when you set all this stuff up. Super handy. We wanted to take it a step further and support another scenario we call mix and match. So if we circle back to the steel pipes from before, where we set up the pipe and we set up the specifications of the pipe, it's also possible to have products inherit traits from multiple different places, not just one. So in this case, our pipe includes specifications, but it can also include that metadata from before, from our shirt example, because it kind of makes sense that you also search engine optimize for more complex products like this. So that's sort of some of the stuff you can use derived definitions for. In the last product update, we introduced bespoke field editors, so the ability to change these bits of UIs that you use to then edit all that data that you set up. And of course, this works for derived definitions as well. So if you have non-standard specifications and you need a certain editing experience around it, you can extend Ucommerce to do it with all new user experiences. It just works. So the PIM enhancement, our derived definitions, it increases data quality by reducing duplication. You can do product specifications now. You can do search engine optimizations as just two examples. It can be used for many other things as well. But those are just sort of a couple of concrete scenarios to give you a sense of what it can do. You can also use multiple specifications together if it makes sense. You can do search and facet enabling on those specifications. It's optional, so you don't have to, but it's there. It's just a little enablement, and off we go. And there's support for non-standard specifications as well, if you need that, so you can extend with new stuff. That is, after all, the bread and butter of Ucommerce, that if we don't do it out of the box, we've made certain that you can do it yourself if you need to. And I use the PIM as like the showcase of this, but definitions and derived definitions really underpin the entire Ucommerce platform. So derived definitions is available across the entire platform in all of our apps, as you will see in a moment. So that's derived definitions. I think you'll really enjoy the flexibility you get out of that. Next up is a brand new area of Ucommerce. It's the customer center. So for a few years, we've had feedback, why don't you do a customer center, a place where we can see all the customers and the orders and other priorities? But the time is right, because this is a thing that works particularly well for B2B, as you will see in a moment. What we did with Customer Center was to be able for you to know your customers, and then more importantly, act on what you know of your customers. And so the first thing is customer accounts. The ability to set up customer accounts for your individual customers on the website, see the order history, manage their attributes. And ultimately, you will be able to create personalized customer experiences using this tool. The first thing is order history, right? So when if you're part of customer success or customer service, you will have customers calling in with questions about their orders. And with Customer Center, it's super easy to find the customer you're after. You just Google them via email or whatever, and you can see all the data about this customer, as well as all the orders they've placed and the order details as well. So just a handy little tool. It shows information that's always been part of Ucommerce. but it surfaces it in a new way, which is sort of more easy to work with in this particular context. We're also introducing customer profiles. So this is the ability to enrich the customer profiles with more information. So we don't know exactly what it is you need to know about your customers. So what we did is we enabled definitions and derived definitions for this to enable you to just basically set it up the way you want. So here's an example. So in a B2C scenario, I've set up a retail customer definition. So just a B2C customer. I just added a couple of properties to it, age and gender. Pretty standard stuff, but you can sort of see how we can use it for various scenarios. The gender in particular will enable you, say, in a clothing store, to guide your customer into the relevant store for, male or female or children or whatever. But you can use derived definitions to further expand on this and use specifications in particular. So you can set up a size preferences definition, which is just basically preferred clothing size and shoe size. Easy as that, right? And because it uses the definition system, you can go ahead and define what should be selectable in here when you edit the customer profile. And of course, the customer itself can also edit that. And basically, this is what we end up with. Let's take a look at what it looks like inside of Ucommerce. So we navigate back to Ucommerce, and we find the customer center here. And you'll notice there are two areas, and don't worry about it. We'll talk about organizations in a little bit. This is where it gets super interesting. But let's start with customers. So real simple, you can navigate all the customers you have in your system, and you can create new ones if you want. And of course, you can find customers by searching for it. So if you are a customer service representative, you should have an easy way to do it. And I think this Omni search box is a great way to go. Navigate into that, and you can see a few things. And here's the order history. And of course, you can navigate to the order and see all the details. In addition to that, you'll notice up here that we have the definition set up. So in this case, we're just using a default customer definitions that has been added a few other things, like clothing size and shoe size down here. And we're using basically the PIM to do this as well. So you can set up these predefined lists of sizes if you want, and shoe sizes as well. And from there, this data can be leveraged in other contexts. For example, to say you're viewing a product page, you can use the clothing size to pre-filter results. So you can have like a my sizes thing that just sort of pre-populates facets on the front end. So John Smith here goes directly to clothing that fits him, right? So that's the customer side of things. Let's just go back and we'll talk about organizations next. So in B2B, organizations, trading partners are super important. And we introduced the organizational accounts for you to be able to group customers into certain organizations. So they sort of represent a trading partner or a business unit that you work with. So you can manage the accounts for organizations and the representatives within that organizations when they do purchases and things like that. So it's kind of like the customer profile, but sort of at a higher level. When you organize your customers like this, you don't have to, but you can. You are able to track order history across the entire organization. So imagine a scenario where you have one organization with multiple buying representatives. Each of those representatives may place, a few orders every month, and using the order history tracker, you can basically see all the orders that are placed by this organization. So you have an easier time figuring out what's what. And of course, you can also see individual order history like we just saw. It works for B2B as well. In addition, we have organizational profiles. So essentially the same deal as customers, but in this case, you would use it for maybe some other things. It still uses definitions and derived definitions, so you can really go nuts with the information you store about organizations. We realized that a lot of this data sort of is mastered somewhere else in a CRM or something like this. Why we have it is because you can take that information, make it available in Ucommerce, and create workflows around it. So like the next one here. So just an example, a B2B workflow that I think most of us are familiar with, spend limits. So the general idea, super simple. You have a number of representatives for an organization, and that organization has a rule in place that says, they can place orders up to a certain limit. From there, it needs to be approved. So the way to set it up is to create a B2B trading partner definition that you create organization based on. There's a customer number, country, state, just to give you a sense of what it could be. You could add other things, right? And then you mix in a spend limit definition with an approval spend limit and an approver email. So on the organization, you'll basically have these two fields to work with, where you can enter an amount and an email that when you reach that amount, an email will be sent to rr@acme.com, and this person will approve the order for further workflow. So you can sort of imagine an order workflow where instead of going from a cart state to order state, it enters into a pending approval state that the order will be moved to once RR approves the order. So fairly simple to do this type of scenario. So let's see it, right, before I move on. We went and built it, so why not try it out? So organizations, they live in here as well, and it's basically the same thing, right? I have my different corporations, and I can go in and view them. So contact information, order history across the organization for all customers, and of course the customers that are associated with it, and finally the customizations here with the definition system, so you can add more fields. These are just two that I made up for the occasion. You can do whatever you want in here. And again, bespoke field editors, your ability to create your own editing experiences in here, supported here. So if you need something particular for the editing experience, you can plug it in. The cool thing is, if you do create a field editor, it is reusable across the entire platform. It's not just available inside organizational profiles or customer profiles. It will work for products. It will work for something else that we will look at in a moment. And it will work for, basically everything that's definition driven within Ucommerce. And these days, that is most things. Cool. Let's recap. So that's the customer center. You can create personalized customer experiences using profiles. You essentially set up the data you need and then leverage it in your website where appropriate. You can track the most valuable customers by order history. You can manage trading partners and their organization and buyers for B2B scenarios. So, you can track order history across organizations, so you can sort of see who's doing well. You can set up personalized catalogs and pricing, and you can support B2B workflows with organizational profiles. That's Customer Center. We already have customers that are looking into leveraging this, and it's going to be super, super fun to follow and see what it does. There's so much more we can do, and in fact, we are building the next round of features on this, so I can't wait for the next product update to show you what will be part of that. All right, so this is the last section, and I will let you go once we've done this and one other thing, and then there's that little offer at the end of the road there that I all urge you to stick around for. So we also enhance transactions and OMS, and what we did there is, wait for it, we introduced order types, and order types is really just a different way of saying orders and carts now have definitions on them. What's cool about it is that in the past, you could only edit values via code. There was no other way to do it. With order types and the ability to define what data you have on an order, you now have the ability to work in a much more reasonable way with the data, because now you have these little editors everywhere on the order to make sense. And a great example of what it can be used for is quotes. So not quite an order, it's more like, asking for pricing, right? So quotes can sort of come into existence in existence in one of two ways. Either, you have a normal B2B shopping flow where a customer adds a bunch of things to cart and then requests a quote. Okay, so we can set up an order type that is a quote, and it can run through a special workflow for that. That's one way. Another way is for a sales representative to receive this quote somehow, either via phone, or maybe it's maybe it's in a meeting, whatever. And then the order is actually born on the back end in the OMS of Ucommerce. regardless, it's supported by the definition system of Ucommerce. So I'll give you an example of what that could look like. We go back to Ucommerce and we go to the order section. So before we do that, actually, let me go to the store section because I just want to show you what I did. So we've been working in the default channel, the B2C channel where the black and white shirt lives. Now we're in the B2B channel, and what I've done here is I've set up another store, so B2C and B2B coexists within the solution, but in different sales channels. So the default store, the B2C store, runs normal orders, and the B2B stores runs quotes. So let me show you what that looks like. So you can see here we've added a new element, which is called cart and order definition, which is where you select the types of orders you want to work with in this particular sales channel. So they can be different across all your sales channels, or the same, depending on what you want. And here, I've set up a new type of order called quote. And that's basically it, right? The quote has a few fields, and I'll show you what I was thinking there. So we navigate back to the order section, and we find our B2B store up here. There we go. And we look at an order. So I have a few quotes already in. So there's one that's completed, so at the nice juicy one at 90,000 euros, and there's a new one here that hasn't been approved yet. So let me take a look at that. So within this system, you can see that a few things happened with this. We added a bunch of products, and that's fine, and it has all the standard stuff. But down here we have two new fields: sales representative and PO number, which the sales representative means who's actually managing this quote. And the PO number, of course, is when we're ready to accept, we can sort of do a PO number for the customer. So because this runs with the definition system, I'm able to predefine lists of sales representatives. We'll select Philip for this one, and we can punch in a PO number as well if we want to. So that's one way to work with it, where the customer placed the quote, as it were, and then we need to manage it through the order flow. I can then go ahead and say, okay, so once this is done, I can go ahead and change the order status of this to completed, and we're good, right? Another scenario is where the sales representative is in direct contact with the person requesting the quote. So not digitally, but some other channel. And we can use the OMS of Ucommerce to create a new quote in here, put it in a new order status. It's from the B2B channel, and we will find the currency in question here. So we're just working in euro, but whatever. And we have a new quote ready to go. And we can go ahead and add billing information and all that. And we can go ahead and add some products to this particular one. So we'll find products. We have agreed that we will do pricing in euros. So this could also be like a customer specific price list. And we'll just use the search from before, so just to have something. But basically, Philip here, as our sales representative, will go in and find the products that are relevant, add them to the quote, like that. And we will have the default pricing here. And let's just say we need to order maybe, 500 of these wonderful black Egyptian cotton shirts and 400 of these white t-shirts. Boom. Okay, so this is a substantial order of close to 1,000 units. So maybe we wanna add a discount to this thing. So we can go ahead and do that. So let's just say, because we're such a nice B2B company, that we'll offer a 2,000 euro discount, and this is by Philip, like that, and that's it, right? So it will be figured into the quote amount that can then be sent to the customer. And of course, I want to make sure that I mark this one as myself, like that. And do we have a PO number? Maybe not. And from there, we can process the quote once it's ready. We can send it back to the client or the customer, and basically just do quote management in a simple way, albeit in here with these order types. Good, that's quotes. You probably already have a million ideas for what you can use order types for. This is just one that comes up a lot in B2B scenarios. Another one would be returns, right? Where you may need an RMA number or whatever. What is the point here is that you can define what you need to work with on an order, and you can get a nice UI. And of course, if you need something particular for your order workflows, you can use the bespoke field editors for non-standard order processing workflows. So you can hook in, you can override and make it your own if you need to. You don't have to, but that's essentially it. Good. That is order types. I think you'll find it very useful. Now, the last one is back office usability enhancements. And as usability enhancements go, this is super fast to present to you, but it has pretty big ramifications. So, ready? 1, 2, 3, boom. It's much faster than it was before. In fact, we have made all the apps in Ucommerce 3 times faster than the previous version, which was already faster than the classic version that many of you are on. So it really screams. PIM is faster, OMS is faster, promotions is faster, customer centered, it's always been fast because it's brand new. Everything is 3 times faster. So when you work within Ucommerce on a day-to-day basis, setting up promotions, managing orders, setting up products, you will just get more stuff done. So we're committed to continually improving the usability of Ucommerce, and performance is a big, big part of that. So that is the product update for November. We took a look at composable workflows with app slices, our ability to now bring native capabilities of Ucommerce into other composable platforms. We built a nice landing page there, which is a very common use case. We introduced derived definitions, which can be used for specifications in the PIM, and a bunch of other things. The customer center, which enables you to manage your trading partners and customers, see who are the best ones, and customer profiles as well. And of course, everything's much faster than before. So I think you'll really enjoy this version of Ucommerce. It's out today, so go ahead and knock yourself out, try it out, give us some feedback on it. We love to hear how it works out for you. Okay, so migrations is so important. Ucommerce has been around for 16 years. I can hardly believe it when I say it. It's been a long ride, but it also means we have a ton of customers, and a lot of them are on the older versions of Ucommerce, Ucommerce Classic. So migrations, of course, are super important. We want you all to experience the new stuff, and to help you out in that process, we have tools, services, and processes that guide you and help you in that migration upgrade process. The first one is super easy, super simple. We can take all your data that's in Ucommerce Classic and we can migrate it to Next Gen. It's a click of a button and you're good. So pretty easy to see yourself in the Next Gen version, right? It's just basically download it, get your data in, and you can sort of have a play with it before you make your decision. So this is one of the tools that you will use before you make a decision, and of course, as you get started as the first step. We have a migration best practice. This includes how to figure out costing and sizing of your solution. We have a technique we call blueprint estimation, which basically helps partners and customers understand what is the cost involved, not just from a licensing perspective, but also from the work that needs to be carried out moving from Classic to Next Gen. So we'll be there every step of the way if you need us to. We can also back off if you need us to do that. But we've done it a few times now, so we do have some experience that we would love to get into play for you as well. This is also prior to migrating. For partners and for those customers who have internal development capabilities, we have the Next Gen Masterclass, which is basically an all-new set of training for developers to help you get started, hit the ground running, essentially. It's free of charge. We can do it online or on site. We've done a few of these, and the feedback has been very good so far. We just completed one this week. So give me a shout if you're thinking about starting. We can get your devs up to speed in a couple of days. So pretty fast. All this was up to starting the project. Next up is hypercare, which is something that happens during the project. So upgrades are interesting because, Ucommerce Next Gen is all new. So it has a bunch of awesome capabilities, but it is new. So you can get the start and stop action going on where, you hit a new area and you need to figure out how it works. And then you stop, figure it out, and then you start again. So that's fine a few times, but if you do it a lot, it can be very costly. So hypercare is a solution to that, where our engineering team here at Ucommerce and our solution team is in direct contact with the team performing the upgrade. So in real-time communication, right? So it means that when a question pops up, the question is posted, and there are a bunch of eyes looking at that, providing an answer very, very quickly. So we're not talking about emails going back and forth. We're talking about chat, instant communication, which really speeds along the projects, and we learn a lot from it as well. So it works out really well for us as well. And finally, when you go live, we have go live support to support you as you put your new solution in production, and whatever might happen, we are there to help you out. Those are migrations. These are the things we can do for you before you start the project, during the upgrade, and after as well. Good. And here's the offer you can't refuse. So as I mentioned, we have this automated commerce migration data tool. And if you're interested in seeing your data live in Next Gen, what we can do for you is you can send us your data, we can migrate it, and we'll send you a URL back with Next Gen running with your data on, so you can see what the orders look like, what your promotions look like, what the product catalogs look like. We'll do all that. You'll get that URL. You can play around with it a little bit, and then we can have a chat about whether it makes sense for you. If you want to try that out, send me an email, and I'll make sure that we migrate all your data so you can see what Next Gen can do for you. That's the Next Gen product update for November 2024. Thank you all for being here, and I hope to see you on the next one. If you have questions, there's a little chat thing that I haven't been able to see, but I will look at it now. That's why I'm not losing interest. I just need to switch to the chat here. We've had Victor on to answer questions, and if you have additional questions, now is the time. If not, thank you all for being here. So Hital has a question about region-based pricing for specifications. Is there support for region-based pricing? There is. Actually, I would. What I can do is I can send you the video from the last product update. We introduced what we call contextual pricing in that one. And contextual pricing is basically an ability to set up many different price groups. You've always been able to do that. But the new price engine is able, given based on the customer's context, to essentially select the pricing that's relevant at that time. So by default, we do it by time, but it's actually also customizable. So you can go in and see and change that if you want to. So I can actually show you real quick what it looks like here. If I can, there we go. So in the price area here, we have all these price groups from before. And when you navigate into a price group, you have the ability to add a bunch of products into it, but you can also set up criterion. And that's the contextual piece. So you can see here how we set up a time-based criterion. So it sort of kicks in automatically at this time. But what I'm showing here is essentially an extension for the platform that enables you to have this pricing kick in based on something custom. So that could be your regional specifications. Those rules could be baked in here. What I'm doing here is B2B pricing, where I'm hooking into the organizations and basically connecting the price list with a particular organization. So Acme Corporation would get this pricing at this time. That's the idea. I hope that answers the question, Hital. Joe asks, is there any support for synchronizing UC instances? So basically pushing products from a staging to a the staging environment to a live environment. There is no support for that today, but we'll definitely take that under advisement, Joe. Thank you for the question. And I can tell you that it's not the first time we get this one, so that's definitely something there. We do have a tool within Next Gen called the Data Importer that we've sort of been keeping under wraps a little bit. So I shouldn't probably be talking about it now, but hey, let's do it anyway. The data importer is like a slim thing at the moment. That's why we're not talking too much about it, but it is a way to get things into Ucommerce. And so you could leverage that. It's by no stretch of the imagination something that just works out of the box, but it is built to do imports like you would from an ERP system. And it doesn't really matter if the source is ERP or another Ucommerce. That's basically the same thing, right? So there is something there, but definitely the ability to sync catalogs across environments is something that we hear a lot, but you can't do it today, Joe. I'm sorry. All righty. Great questions, everybody. I really appreciate it. I think I will let you all go. I was trying to hit like a 45-minute mark, and we're sort of 7 minutes above. So thank you for this. If you're interested in seeing your data live in Next Gen, send me an email. We'll migrate your data. You can have a poke around and see what it does. And yeah, I think you'll love it as much as we do. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.